For my fan. Yep. All right, we made it. Had some serious technical difficulties this morning. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually Mike. We were just talking about that. So for future reference, the start of the stream is going to change to 7 CST. Gives us a little more time to troubleshoot if need be. So that's good. That'll be good. Slightly shorter stream, maybe, but that's all right. Yeah. Well, it's better in the window, but where did we used to plug it in? Okay. That up there. Screen. Oh, sit up a little. What kind of troubleshooting are we doing every week? The kind I don't know about. That's part of the problem. Lots of we have internet issues, and I don't know. It's a lot to get the setup here with the way it streams. So yeah, we had some setup and internet issues this morning, and then we had some husband and wife issues about the stream internet issues.
Did we?
Well, we had like the really mature, composed adult version of a conversation where we blame each other about stuff. You know, like the kids do. Only we don't yell and throw punches. We just like talk really. I like to keep it real, you guys. Good morning, Mr. Mora and Richard. Oh, yeah. It's good stuff, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Come on. Oh, my goodness. Peter Cooper, good morning. Thanks for joining. I was just describing my reasons why I'm very late starting my stream this morning. Fun stuff. Yeah, so future reference, I think we'll start the stream at 7. That will give us 7 CST. That will give us time to do troubleshooting if we need to. Oh, you're jealous of my coffee cup? Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? It's got like snowmen and reindeer, winter coffee mug, because, you know, winter never likes to go away here in Wisconsin. Although it's been raining for days. John Mora, I refuse to answer that question on the grounds I may incinerate myself. There you go, buddy. That's a good way to chime in. You know what it makes me think of is, so I have this fascination with, like, I mentioned it just briefly last week, like time period type stuff. So if I'm gonna like read a book or something, it'll, like, I like lots of Jane Austen novels. And part of it is fascinating to me because, like, a lot of stories about that time period are really conversation heavy, right? So much of the book is what these people are saying to each other. But since everything was so, like, proper, it was like this art of, like, how they spoke to each other in a way that was still totally like vague and proper, but still like getting at stuff. It's really fascinating. So if that seemed really random, but there's a bit of an art to communicating in just about every way, shape, or form. All right, so I'm gonna keep rolling with what we were talking about last week, because I don't have a ton of time today, but there's a couple more things that I thought would be worthwhile to talk about from last week, talking about weightlifting. Especially because I seem to be running into that everywhere lately. Just lots of people curious about it, want to get started on it. So it's rolling around in my brain a lot. So last week I talked about a lot of kind of the general reasons I think people would want to strength train, and then also specifically for cyclists, right? Like, so I'll just clip over those real quick. One was, I was saying that I think that, like, if people were to do nothing else, especially because we live in a culture where it's just hard, like most people's day job doesn't include a lot of activity. So I think if people are, if you go, I try to put it this way: if you were to do nothing else as far as being active, I would say strength training is the one thing you don't want to go without. You get the most, you cover the most bases of like physiological adaptations, responses, and benefits from strength training. So, and I talked a bit about too about how just in the past, like before maybe the last 100 years, for most of the world, just activity where you had to like use your muscles was just more built into daily life. So it's like, it's a thing. I think it's a thing that people have to be conscious of, even if you like cringe at the idea of going to a gym and lifting a weight. It doesn't have to look like that. Like, there's so much happening right now as far as like community based options or organizations or whatever it looks like for people to make that happen in a way that's comfortable for them. Even if it's just doing it in your own living room with some good YouTube videos. I mean, good Lord, there's so many resources on the internet. So as far as it pertains to cyclists, though, you can have huge benefits from it as far as like sport specificity. What is that word? I can't spit it out. Specific to your sport. So you train the muscles that you're using for your sport, but you also, that in itself will just give you performance benefits. But you also want to train and strengthen all the other supportive muscles in your body, so that you don't have like imbalances that lead to overuse injuries. Strength training will make it way less likely that you injure yourself or that you deal with chronic aches, pains, and injuries, especially into your later years in life. It just adds an element of, let's see, I'm trying to just go over the things I went over last week, some of the main ones from weightlifting. If you do it right, and if you do it in a way that kind of flows with your season, and if you are consistent with it, it will help you stay leaner, which is something I don't think is just a great motivation, right, for people to go after with fitness in general. Like, I tend to think that things like, I don't know, I just want to like look good, are just, most people know that that's a pretty shallow motivation, and it's not going to see you through tough sessions at the gym or whatever when you're tired and you don't feel like it. It's more of like the, I want to be strong, I want to be healthy, I want to have energy to do life well. But if you are someone who is after athletic performance, particularly in endurance sports, where something like your power to weight ratio matters, then strength training is just another kind of arrow in your quiver for achieving that ideal power to weight ratio. So, I think that's most of it. I had to just kind of skim over it all from last week. Just gonna rack my brain here for a second. John Morris says, it's tough to commit, but the benefits are worth it. Yeah, I think it's hard to wrap your head around it as a cyclist, you know. Gosh, I'd say for anyone who wants to, like, and I'm not even talking about highly competitive, professional, semi-professional type athletes. I'm just talking about someone who riding a bike is their thing, and they want to be able to perform well and compete, right? So my guess would be you'd be spending somewhere between 8 to 10 hours on the bike per week. I mean, that's just total. I'm tossing that out there from averages I've encountered. I don't really know, but just think about even if you had to substitute like one of those hours a week for strength training, I promise the benefit you would get from swapping that hour would be exponential. So it's just hard to like wrap your head around that as a cyclist, because you just tend to think more time on the bike is better, need more time on the bike, must ride more. All right, here we go. Lindsay, what's your view on upper body mass and power to weight? Yeah, but you don't want the pigeon chest either. So that is where things tend to get really specific. A lot of that matters in relation to your own build, if that makes sense, your own body type. And then, so I don't know if you guys ever, or if you're aware of these terms. I remember we had to do it in like health class when I was in high school or whatever, but there's really general broad terms for like what type of body type you have: endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph. So that's a really just basic place to start if you've never heard those terms. You know, there's some like really simple tests where it's like if you take your middle finger and your thumb and you put them around your wrist, and if they touch, don't touch, or overlap, it's kind of a general indicator. Oh, okay. So, well, look at you. You're good. You should be the one running this stream. You probably know what you're talking about more than I do. But okay. So some of that depends on your body type, right? Some of it will depend on how quickly, how well you respond to strength training. But I would say for cyclists, particularly for men, because it's different for women. Obviously, women lack upper body strength compared to men. And like for me as a mountain biker, um, it's like it's important. It's really important. So for women, particularly for women who mountain bike, I would approach the upper body part of it very differently. But in general, for you men, I would tend to say that you should keep upper body exercises to mostly body weight, plyometric or isometric type movements, and keep the majority of your big lifts in your legs. But you can't just do that. You know, you have to I just think it's so important that all the muscles in your body are strengthened so that you're less prone to injury and your body just works better. So, oh, and the other thing that is really helpful with that too is that people tend to totally neglect that I think is like, to me, it's kind of like, I think it's like the key to unlocking that kind of next level of leanness and strength is balance movements. So yeah, for you guys, I would say that, you know, if your goal is to be as fast as you can on a bike, and again, even like for men mountain bikers, I would say that needs to be different also, because there's just so much more of this type of movement you do on a mountain bike and this. So it's different on a road bike, but you still need to have everything in your body working synergistically for it to work best. And you can't do that if you're neglecting certain muscles and hammering on other ones. Okay, Keith says cross training, swimming, and yoga. Okay, yoga I think is a fantastic piece of this puzzle. If and this is my personal opinion, and because unless you're a professional athlete and your job is to get in, you know, a range of quality workouts every week, then great. I mean, if you got time to do all that stuff, great. But a lot of what we have to work around and work towards in our own lives and with any of the people in our training community is just efficiency, time efficiency, huge. So I personally do yoga about once a week. I have a 25-minute routine that just whips. It just whips from one thing to the next. So to me, that's important, that it's something that, especially for someone who's an endurance athlete and you're used to just breathing hard. So I think it's important to have a yoga routine that is going to challenge you because you're already very aerobically fit and anaerobically fit, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'd say yoga is a great element of it. It has a great combination of stretching, strengthening, and those isometric movements, where isometric is just slower, where you're holding one position for a certain amount of time. It just works your muscles very differently, but is also an intense strain on them to get stronger, but it's very different than how you would lift a weight. And if you want more response, better adaptations, your body to just not get used to the same old thing, you have to keep doing different things. So I'll go through, my goal for today was to try to just get through some of the specific type of weight or strength training things that you would do for some of this. So the balance one I think is important not to neglect. So, and if you guys know what a Bosu ball is, they're kind of like a half of one of those exercise balls on a platform. So we use those a lot for things like single leg squats. So this half ball thing, you can flip it either way, right? You can flip it so the ball side is down and the platform is on top. And if you stand on it, it would wobble a little differently. Or you can have the platform side down and the ball side up, and you can stand on it, and then your foot is kind of against the squish of the ball. So I think it's important too for cyclists to use a combination of single leg exercises and combined leg exercises. First I should just cover what I think you shouldn't do. What I wouldn't do for strength training as a cyclist is a bunch of isolated muscle movements. So the last time I opened like some sort of cycling magazine, right? It had a prescription for strength training, and it had a picture of the leg, and it broke down all the different muscle groups in the leg. And then it gave this insane list of exercises for how you could work each one of those muscles. And I'm looking at that thinking, what a waste of time. That sounds like it would take forever, be totally tedious, and not efficient at all to me. So again, just my personal opinion, that is the kind of thing that I would be like, no, don't do that. Don't do hamstring curls, leg extensions, calf raises, especially not in the 12 to 14 rep range. To me, that's just it's not efficient. It's just not efficient. The average American person who needs a 3 times a week workout, I don't even know if I would tell them to do that kind of strength training, but whatever. I don't know. It might work for some people. Right, so that's what I wouldn't do, you guys. For specifically cycling specific. So balance movements, I think, are great. If you're just starting on any type of strength training, I'd say start with, so I'll kind of move through the progression of what you can start with, but what you would want to work towards. I'd say start with body weight, just basic push-ups, squats, lunges. Just do a couple of those. Make sure that nothing is aching, nothing is sore, nothing's getting tweaked or pulled weird. And then you can start moving on to, yoga, get that kind of once a week, high intensity yoga type thing in there. Then you can start working towards actual strength or weight. The goal in my mind of this, though, is to work up to, what do we have here? David Thomas. Didn't I write this game? The lean angle algorithm. You have to expound on that for me, buddy. Okay, so to work up to working with weight then, and I think that just the best thing you can do as a cyclist and get the most use out of your time is to work towards things like full body, multi-joint exercises that are that are leg heavy, leg focused, right? So a deadlift is a fantastic thing. A bar squat, where you have a bar on your shoulder, squats and lunges are fantastic. Single leg presses. And again, that's where if you can, like on a leg press, you can split it up one leg at a time. You should do it because that's how you pedal a bike. Power cleans are fantastic for cyclists. You have to know what you're doing, though. You got to learn how to do these and work up to them, so that you don't hurt yourself. That's where having a coach or a trainer comes in helpful, unless you're really good at figuring those things out on your own. And those kind of things, you can start in a higher rep range to get used to them. But the goal of it, I think, is to get into a lower rep range. You're just going to get the max result out of that work that you're putting in. And a lot of people, again, will kind of freak out about, if I'm doing big lifts, low reps, I'm going to bulk up. And it's just not true. It's just not. You'll bulk up if, for one, you have to eat more than you need to sustain your current body weight to bulk up. And amongst a series of other things. But here's just a vague example, I guess. If you think of the difference between an Olympic powerlifter. So an Olympic powerlifter, if you guys watch the Olympics, they're the ones who are doing these big barbell lifts, right? And a lot of times it's like they're going for one big lift. How much weight they can basically launch off the floor quickly, right? They have to pop that weight and move it so quick. And if you look at them, their body, their build is very, very different than your traditional bodybuilder, huge, gross, bumpy looking bodybuilder guy who's on the front of some magazine, right? Like totally different build. Even if a powerlifter is, even though they might be very muscular, they don't tend to be huge, if that makes sense. But what you're after as a cyclist is a combination of endurance, force, power, speed. Power tends to be the combination of the speed and the force that you can put out. So when you're doing something like a deadlift and you're using your whole body, and if you're doing it right, again, this is where it comes in for you guys and the whole upper body thing. If you're doing it right, your arms are just there to literally brace the bar. You're not actually using your upper body a whole lot, apart from very kind of quick, twitchy, bracing type movements. And you got to move that weight really quick with a lot of power. It takes balance. If you watch what happens in a person's legs over the process of getting that weight up, let's say you're doing a power clean right now where you bring it off the floor up to your shoulders and back down. If you watch what happens, you might be able to find a YouTube video or something in a person's legs. You watch all the muscles kind of go back and forth, up and down, and just side to side to brace so many times. And that's the kind of movement you're after in riding a bike when it comes to anytime you have to bump up your speed, respond to another rider's efforts, sprint, climb a hill, that kind of thing. And they're also, though, the difference between a deadlift or even something like a leg press is, like I said, you're using your entire body. So that tends to be like, and what we work on in our off season. We work towards like the big heavy lifts. And then you kind of cycle out of those as you get into your race season, and then do more of the plyometric and balance type movements. So typically you need to build strength. You need to strengthen the muscles, the tendons, the supporting muscles in your body before you can work on power, or even a combination of like the two. So first you have to just work on strengthening your muscles with some of those movements and maybe doing them in a higher rep range. Then once you have the strength, you can start working on power and speed. So plyometrics is like anything that's a super explosive movement. And you tend to, you need the strength and the stability before you do those. Like a lot of people think, oh, something like, jumping jacks or box jumps or whatever. No big deal, right? But there is a danger of injuring yourself when you go to do a really quick movement and that the muscles and everything around it just aren't well equipped and strong for that movement already, if that makes sense. So that's why I think it's important to incorporate those after you've gotten some good strength training under your belt. So when so this is kind of where me personally, I'm working into my season right now. Some of the things I'm doing is box jumps, where you jump up onto a platform of some way, shape, or form, or height. But I mean, you do it, you get as explosively as you can, you jump as high as you can, and then I land on a Bosu ball on top of the platform because it adds an element of balance to me that I need as a mountain biker. So box jumps, plyo push-ups. This is another thing. I mean, it's a staple for me as a female mountain biker. This is one that never goes away. I do it every week, all year long. But this is a good thing for you guys. For you men cyclists that need to have some upper body strengthening just for the sake of it, but don't want to like gain upper body mass. So clap push-ups is what I'm talking about. You push up, you clap, and you bring your hands back down. It's such a different dynamic than what it takes just to do a regular push-up. Super different. And it's the type of, I would promise you, if you gave me the same person and you had them spend 6 months doing just regular push-ups and 6 months of doing plyo push-ups, I guarantee you that person would look very, very different after 6 months of clap push-ups. They'd be leaner in the arms and the shoulders and stronger. You'd be able to see probably every little tiny muscle, and they'd be leaner. So I think the plyometric component is huge. So I know it's a lot, like I'm just kind of spouting off a lot of information, but I would, I guess, to try to simplify it and give a more like digestible comparison, I'd say for a cyclist, you want to kind of stay away from the single muscle movements at those kind of high, moderate rep range. And instead you'd want to make sure you get some sort of explosive movements in there, something that works on balance, like yoga or balance specific exercises, like with a Bosu ball. And get some heavy power lifts in there, deadlifts, cleans, single leg presses, and that kind of stuff. Get drastically different results than you would with like the typical work the cables on one muscle at a time for 3 sets of 12 reps. So I'll go through some of these other like balance exercises too, because I think they're, like I said, neglected, but really, really good. Oh, I'm catching up on the comments here. Mike says, I think I could do 1 clap push-up. You got to start somewhere. Do them on your knees if you can't do them on your hands and feet first. What I do is, I mean, this is after years of doing this, but so I tend to do them till I can't do them anymore. So that's how long a set is for me. So I can usually get through about 20 of them on my first set on my hands and feet. And then I go down to my knees and I push off my hands from my knees until I can't do them anymore, which is usually about another like 15. And then I do 2-3 more sets of that. Oh, that's a really good question. Drink some water here. My mouth is dry. Okay, so the difference between a single leg exercise and a single muscle exercise. A single muscle exercise is like when you're literally just trying to isolate one muscle. So let's talk about it in reference to the leg, right? You can do a calf raise or calf raise, or you can do a hamstring curl or a leg extension. Those are the typical kind of just like standard general, here's the exercises you can do to strengthen your legs. So it tries to isolate one muscle. But sometimes, often, you're using both legs, but isolating one muscle in each of those legs. So that, it's really important the way these muscles work in relation to each other. There's nothing about that resembles pedaling efficiency. So a single leg exercise would be like, if you're gonna do a leg press, where leg press is where you're kind of laying back and there's a big platform over you. And the weight is coming down, you're pushing up against the weight, but it's got that you're not only using every muscle in your leg, you're using muscles in your hip and lower back at the same time. But I tend to put one leg down and do the leg press one leg at a time, because you pedal, your legs take turns pushing the pedal with the same movement on a bike. So another way to do that is to split your stance on things like a squat or a lunge. Lunges are, even though you're using both legs, you're using them differently, where you're highlighting one leg above the other. So a split stance exercise is really similar to like a single leg. So think of like if you're coasting on a bike and you stand up a little bit and your pedals are flat. That's what I mean when I'm talking about a split stance. And you can over exaggerate that. But if you're doing like a squat or a lunge or a step up, like where you have some sort of weight either on your shoulders, on a chest vest, or in your arms, and you step up with one leg onto a platform and step back down, that would be like a single leg exercise. I missed some comments yesterday. Oh, you didn't like what my coffee cup looked like? I'm actually drinking green tea this morning. Nathan said, "Nice one, Lindsay," and that something was gross. But I don't even know what he's talking about. Yeah, a Zwift yoga routine stream one week. Maybe. I have to ask my boss and see if that qualifies as quality Zwift community live content. You know what'd be super cool is if Zwift could have something like, what is it, Xbox Connect, where your avatar would literally just like mimic all your movements. So then we could have like a standing on your bike yoga routine or something, right? It's fun to imagine. Possibilities are endless. Still need to figure out what. Let's see. What did Nathan say that I did was gross? Drinking out of the water jug? I don't know. All right, let's see. David Thomas, are you still there? I want to know the game you wrote. Hello to, I wish I could say that name. It looks like it's in Russian. Oops. Okay. I did call weightlifters gross. That was insensitive and judgmental of me. Yeah. So, what I mean by that is like the really, really extreme, the really, really extreme, like where it looks like they just don't even have skin anymore. And I don't know, it just looks alien to me. I know some people they have to work so hard, so crazy, obsessively hard to get like that. And I have admiration for that part, for sure I do. Um, but yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. That's all. But there's a lot of people that don't get what I do either. So it's all good. My mouth gets me in trouble sometimes. Yeah, nice pictures there, you guys. Thanks. Oh my goodness. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining the comments. I'm about done for the morning, but going over some strength training that you can do for cyclists. And I was just backpedaling and trying to cover my butt when I can flap my mouth too much because I was talking about my personal preferences about how super crazy intense bodybuilders look. No, for real though, for real, just for real. Like, I do admire the work that takes. Somebody just said to me the other day though, like, about mountain biking, like, well, something about it just not being safe, you know, like it's weird, maybe even irresponsible. How do I do that? Because it's not safe. Like, to me, it just sounds goofy, but I get it. Like, how to someone else, it can just look or feel totally different. But to me, it's like, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it. To me, it's awesome that there's this thing that I do where you have to overcome fear and obstacles and difficulty and physical and mental discomfort. Your body's just yelling at you to stop pedaling, or you might crash into a tree. I don't know. To me, there's like a element of like conquer and overcome and achieve, and so it's just interesting. All right, that is about it for me this morning. Short stream, I know, but like I said, we had technical difficulties this morning. And we're changing stream time to 7 CST for the future. Bob Morris, mountain bikers aren't risking being run over by a truck. That is right. I'm telling you, I mean, seriously, that's one of my main, as far as like the safety element. You know, you may tend to crash more often on a mountain bike. You're not going as fast. And hopefully, there's some sort of soft ground or foliage to help buffer your fall. But no, you don't have to worry about getting run over by a car. I've known so many people in the last couple of years that have just gotten killed on a bike on the road. It's really sad. Hi. I'm just finishing my stream for this morning. You want to say hi? I'm just about to say goodbye. Hi, Abby. Can't see you. Come here. Closer. There you go. My face is in the picture. 7-year-old Kyle waking up for the day, which means stream is over. So, oh yeah, CDT. Thanks, Mike. See if there's any more questions. Actually, I just want to give a moment in case anyone has questions about all this stuff I just blabbed about for a while. See, I didn't have my coffee this morning. I'm drinking green tea. My brain is not as sharp with all that extra caffeine. Oh, man. All right, you guys. As usual, thanks for joining in the comments. Makes it interesting. I will be back next week after we will be in Las Vegas this weekend for the XRS. Is that what they call it still? I don't even know. I hope so. Should have got that right. But we will be at the big event in Las Vegas. I'm gonna be racing my bike there. Well, racing somebody else's bike, but I'll be racing. So you guys, I'm sure I'll probably mostly know about that. Should check it out. So you can see us there. And I should be back. We'll be back. Let's see. We'll be back Sunday. And I'll be back with my Tuesday morning stream next week. Thanks, you guys.